The courtroom was silent, suffocated by the arrogance of one man. Brandon Mercer, the billionaire CEO of Mercer Logistics, stood tall, smoothing his Italian suit, believing he had already won. He looked at his trembling, pregnant wife Haley with nothing but contempt. He thought his high-priced lawyers and endless fortune could buy his freedom. He thought she was helpless, abandoned, and alone. But when his hand struck her cheek in a fit of rage right there in the courtroom, he didn't just break the law. He woke a sleeping dragon. He didn't look at the judge's bench closely enough. If he had, he would have realized that the woman holding the gavel wasn't just a judge. She was the mother he had banned his wife from seeing for 3 years, and she was about to rain down hell. The air in courtroom 4B of the Supreme Court of New York was not just cold. It was sterile, stripped of empathy, and smelling faintly of floor wax and old wood. Outside, the December rain battered against the high windows, a grey backdrop to the end of a marriage that had started as a fairy tale and ended as a horror story. Brandon Mercer sat at the defense table, checking his limited edition Patek Philippe watch for the 3rd time in a minute. He tapped his fingers on the mahogany table, a rhythmic, impatient sound that echoed in the silence. To him, this wasn't a tragedy. It was a transaction, a business deal gone sour that needed to be liquidated so he could move on to the next acquisition. At 34, Brandon was the face of Mercer Logistics, a shipping empire that moved goods across 3 continents. He was handsome in a sharp, predatory way, with slicked-back dark hair and eyes that assessed the value of everything they touched. Today, those eyes were fixed on his phone, scrolling through emails, completely ignoring the woman sitting at the plaintiff's table 10 feet away. Haley Mercer sat with her hands protective over her swollen belly. She was 8 months pregnant, her petite frame almost swallowed by a maternity dress that had seen better days. Her blonde hair, once vibrant, was pulled back in a messy bun, and dark circles bruised the skin under her eyes. She looked nothing like the radiant socialite who had graced the covers of Tatler 3 years ago. She looked like a ghost. "Mr. Mercer, if you could please put away your device," the bailiff said, his voice weary. Brandon didn't look up. "I'm closing a deal worth more than this building, officer. Give me 30 seconds. Haley flinched. It was that tone, that dismissal, the same tone he used when he told her she was gaining too much weight, or that her opinions on politics were cute but embarrassing. Her lawyer, a court-appointed attorney named Sarah Jenkins, who looked as exhausted as Haley felt, leaned in. "Don't let him get to you, Haley. We just need to get through the custody hearing. The judge is running late. It gives us time to review the restraining order request." "He won't let me go, Sarah," Haley whispered, her voice trembling. "You don't know him. He doesn't want the baby because he loves it. He wants the baby because it's his, like a car or a watch. The law is on our side," Sarah insisted, though her eyes betrayed her doubt. Brandon Mercer had a team of 5 lawyers behind him, sharks in pinstripes, led by Dominic Thorne. No, not Thorne. Dominic Voss, a man known as the Butcher in divorce court. Suddenly, the heavy oak doors at the back of the courtroom swung open. The clerk stood up. "All rise," the clerk announced. "The Honorable Judge Margaret Davis presiding." Brandon finally pocketed his phone, standing up with a languid grace, buttoning his jacket. He smirked at his lead lawyer, Voss. "Let's get this over with. I have a flight to Tokyo at 6. The judge entered. She was a woman of imposing stature, her silver-grey hair cut in a sharp bob, her face a mask of stone. Her robes billowed around her as she ascended the bench. She didn't look at the lawyers. She didn't look at the gallery. She opened the file in front of her with precise, deliberate movements. There was something terrifyingly efficient about her. "Docket number 4492, the judge said, her voice a deep, resonant alto that demanded absolute attention. Mercer versus Mercer. Custody hearing and petition for order of protection. Brandon leaned toward Voss. Who is this old bat I thought we paid off the clerk to get to Judge Henderson? Henderson called in sick this morning. Voss whispered back, looking slightly uneasy. I don't have a file on Judge Davis. She must be a visiting justice from the appellate circuit. Whatever. Brandon scoffed loud enough for the stenographer to glance up. She looks like she needs a drink and a retirement home. Mr. Mercer, Judge Davis said. She hadn't looked up from the papers, but her voice cut through the air like a whip. You will maintain silence unless addressed. Is that understood? Brandon blinked. He wasn't used to being spoken to like a subordinate. He put on his charming, media-ready smile. Apologies, Your Honor. Just anxious to resolve this matter for the sake of my fragile wife. The judge finally looked up. Her eyes were piercingly blue. For a second they rested on Brandon, cold and unreadable. Then they slid to Haley. Haley had her head down, staring at her hands. She was terrified of making eye contact with anyone. She felt the weight of Brandon's glare burning into the side of her face. Proceed, Judge Davis said. Dominic Voss stood up, adjusting his silk tie. Your Honor, my client, Mr. Mercer, is a pillar of the community. This petition for a restraining order is frankly ridiculous, a hormonal reaction from a woman who is unfortunately suffering from severe prenatal distress. We are asking for full custody of the unborn child upon birth, citing Mrs. Mercer's mental instability. Haley gasped. Liar, she whispered. Mrs. Mercer has no income, no home of her own, and no family support. Voss continued smoothly. She has been estranged from her own relatives for years. How can she possibly care for an infant? Mr. Mercer, on the other hand, can provide the best nannies, the best doctors, the best education. Sarah Jenkins stood up, her papers shaking slightly. Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Mercer isolated my client from her family. He confiscated her passport, monitored her phone calls, and systematically cut her off from her parents. That is abuse, not lack of support. Allegations, Voss countered smoothly. Unproven. I have the hospital records, Sarah shouted, losing her cool. The bruised wrist from July. The fall down the stairs in September. Accidents. Brandon interrupted his voice, smooth, oozing fake concern. Haley is clumsy, especially with the extra weight she's carrying. Haley looked up then. Tears were streaming down her face. She looked at the judge, pleading silently. Please see me. Please see the truth. The judge's face remained impassive. She was staring at Haley, her eyes narrowing slightly. It was a look of intense scrutiny, almost recognition, but she quickly masked it. Counselor, Judge Davis said to Voss, you claim the wife has no family support. Why is that? Voss shrugged. From what my client tells me, Mrs. Mercer was a difficult child. She ran away from home to marry Mr. Mercer. Her family washed their hands of her. Is that true, Mrs. Mercer? The judge asked. Her voice was softer now. Haley tried to speak, but her throat closed up. She shook her head. No, she choked out. He told them I hated them. He sent letters in my name, telling my mother to drop dead. Brandon laughed. It was a short, cruel bark of a sound. Your Honor, please. Now she's inventing mail fraud. My wife is hysterical." "I am not hysterical," Haley cried out, the hormones and the fear finally boiling over. She struggled to stand up, her heavy belly making it difficult. "You locked me in the penthouse for 6 months. Brandon, you told me my mother died. You told me she died of a heart attack and that it was my fault." The courtroom went deadly silent. Brandon's smile faltered. Judge Davis froze. Her hand holding a pen stopped in midair. "He told you. Your mother was dead." "Yes." Haley sobbed, collapsing back into her chair. He said she died hating me." Brandon stood up, buttoning his jacket, his face darkening with genuine anger now. The charm was evaporating. "Your Honor, I object to this theater. My wife is clearly delusional. I want a recess." "Sit down, Mr. Mercer," Judge Davis said. Her voice was terrifyingly low. "I will not," Brandon snapped. He turned toward Haley, ignoring the bench entirely. He took 2 steps toward the plaintiff's table. "Mr. Mercer, step back," the bailiff warned, moving forward. But Brandon was fast. He loomed over Haley, his presence massive and threatening. "You shut your mouth, Haley. You stop lying to these people, or I swear to God, once this baby is born, you will never see it again. I'll bury you." "Brandon, please," Haley whimpered, shrinking away. "You're pathetic," he spat. "Mr. Mercer." The judge's voice boomed, amplified by the microphone, shaking the walls. Brandon spun around to face the judge, his face red with rage. "What are you going to lecture me? Do you know who I am? I pay more in taxes than you make in a decade. This woman is my property, Shipul." "Brandon, stop!" Haley cried, reaching out to grab his sleeve, to pull him back, to stop him from destroying himself in court. He reacted on instinct, a predator's instinct. He swung his hand back. Crack! The sound of his palm connecting with Haley's face was like a gunshot in the quiet room. Haley's head snapped back. She cried out, clutching her cheek, and slumped sideways in her chair. The entire courtroom froze. The stenographer gasped. The bailiff's hand went to his taser. Even Dominic Voss, the ruthless lawyer, looked horrified. Brandon stood there, breathing heavy, his hand still raised, realizing too late what he had just done in open court. But the most terrifying reaction didn't come from the bailiff. It came from the bench. For 3 seconds, no one moved. The red mark on Haley's pale cheek began to bloom instantly, a stark accusation against the grey atmosphere of the room. Then a chair scraped violently against the floor. Judge Margaret Davis didn't just stand up. She erupted from the bench. She didn't look like a judge anymore. The impartial mask was gone, shattered into 1,000 pieces. In its place was a fury so raw, so primal, that it seemed to lower the temperature in the room by 10 degrees. "Bailiff," she roared, "restrain him, now!" The bailiff tackled Brandon just as he tried to step back. Brandon struggled, shocked. "Get off me! You can't touch me! This is assault! Cuff him!" Judge Davis commanded, pointing a finger that did not tremble. "If he resists, tase him." Brandon was slammed face first onto the defense table, his cheek pressed against the polished wood. "You're crazy. I'll have your badge. I'll buy this whole damn courthouse." Haley was sobbing, holding her face, rocking back and forth. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have upset him." Judge Davis bypassed the stairs. She swept down from the raised platform of the bench, her black robes flying behind her like the wings of an avenging angel. She didn't walk. She marched. She ignored the court reporter. She ignored the stunned lawyers.